Hello and Assalamu alaikum. I am Kashif Kamran and I welcome you to the day 5 and the final day of the Advanced Audit and Assurance Practice to Pass webinar being organized by ACCA Pakistan for the March 2020 exams. Now, being the fifth day and the final day, the agenda is to look at audit report and is to practice audit report. But just before I start focusing on the day 5 agenda, I need to continue with some leftover stuff from the day 4. Yesterday, towards the end of the fourth day, because of some technical glitches, I couldn't complete my topic quality control. And I mentioned that in my day 4 yesterday, that at the start of my fifth day, I will first be focusing on the quality control for like 30-40 minutes. And then I will be shifting towards the practice of the audit report. So let's first start from where we left the day 4. And let's first focus on the examiner question on quality control and what exactly quality control expects from us. Now, this is the question in front of your screen, which was in the agenda yesterday, but we couldn't complete it. If you see this question, this is from the September 18 exams, and this is the question number 3B in front of your screen. Now, this question is a very typical question when the examiner focus on quality control apart from ethical and professional. Now, when you look at this requirement, to be familiar to understanding it, the requirement asks you comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit of the Watson company, discussing the quality control and other professional issues raised. Obviously, examiner could even have asked you ethical issues, but the examiner is only asking for professional issue. But apart from that, look at the element of quality in this question. It says comment on the quality. And now that is very central. Comment on the quality. An examiner is saying comment on the quality of planning and performing, because you need to understand as a AAA student that a question on quality control is either set at a stage of planning or at the stage of performance, or it has both the elements. Is that clear to all of you? If you can keep responding to my questions as we finish off this topic, quality control. The question on quality control is either set at the stage of planning, or it is set at the stage of performance, or it can be at both the stages simultaneously. Now, as a student of AAA, you should know what are fundamentals of planning, which you must have done in the planning chapter. And as a student of AAA, you should also know what are fundamentals of performance, which you must have done in the topic when you were like gathering sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Now, we know planning is a very core element of engagement performance. And you cannot just start audit without planning, because it can have serious implications on the audit process, or it can have serious implications on the quality of the audit. And same happens with performance. Performance is such an important element of engagement performance. When performance means you're gathering evidence, performance means the field work. If you're not gathering sufficient appropriate audit evidence, or the evidence you have gathered is inappropriate, then obviously that will eventually compromise the quality of audit. Now the question says comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit, discussing the quality control and other professional issues. Now, what extra you have to do when the question has an element of quality apart from ethical and professional, which we discussed yesterday? Now, let's give you an understanding of that. Now, I hope you remember that yesterday in the session we discussed the elements of quality, elements of quality control, which was in the Examiner article, and there were total 6. One being leadership, one being ethics, one being acceptance and continuation, acceptance and continuation of the client. The other one was human resources. Then there was engagement performance, and then there was monitoring. And I mentioned yesterday that we are not worried about monitoring because the question will start with monitoring, because the question will say you are a manager responsible for the engagement quality control review. So the question will automatically start with monitoring. So perhaps you're more worried with the first five. Now, even within the first five, when you look at the case study in AAA paper, you need to understand one thing. The AAA case is focused on how the audit is planned and performed. And the examiner is very much concerned about a comment on the quality, comment on the quality. But see, you just saw that in the question, comment on the quality of how the audit is planned and performed. Now, as a student, that means you should be concerned about knowing planned and performed to comment on the quality. Now that means planned and perform is basically part of engagement performance, because when you perform an engagement, you should understand this very properly. Planned and perform. Now, planned and perform basically connects with this element number 5. Now, if you are good on the element number 5, you can survive a question on quality control. So when we perform an engagement, do you all realize that the engagement starts with planning? True or false? Engagement like an audit, engagement like non-audit services. Do you all believe engagement starts with planning first? Then what is the second thing we do in the engagement? After we do planning, the second step we do is we gather evidence, right? The third step we do is finalization, and the fourth step we do is reporting. I hope all of you know the 4 steps of performing an engagement. Now, planning is one step of engagement performance, right? And performance is the next step of the engagement performance. Now, see how you can solve a question. Now, if you're good on engagement performance and you know that engagement performance is the most important element of quality control from an examination point of view, right? From an examination point of view, not from the practical side of view, not from the side of view that you're working in the audit firm, from the examination point of view. So you need to know that. Now, when you look at the engagement performance can be split into 3 parts. Number 1, direction. Number 2, supervision. Number 3, review. These are 3 very important fundamentals of performing an engagement. Direction. When you look at engagement performance as a quality control parameter, engagement cannot start with direction. Now, direction means planning. So direction is equal to planning and engagement. Is that clear to all of you? Then the engagement cannot be performed without supervision. What is supervision? Supervision is an ongoing monitoring. Supervision is an ongoing monitoring. Supervision is an ongoing check and balance. For example, the junior. Do you believe the junior needs a supervision during the course of the audit? Is that true? Can a junior work without supervision? But if the case says that the senior was absent, or if the case says the manager was busy, do you believe the supervision has not been very proper? Supervision is mandatory, right? Supervision is compulsory because the team needs the supervision. So if the manager was absent or if the manager was busy, do you believe the supervision was there in the case study? Right? My question, I'm repeating my question. If the manager was busy, if the manager was absent, so has the manager done justice with the supervision of the audit? Right? So you need to understand the supervision, and the supervision mostly is absent in a AAA case study, and you need to criticize it. So direction is the planning, right? Direction is the planning. Supervision is basically the ongoing monitoring, and we know for supervision we have the manager or we have the job in charge, and the people like job in charge or the super or the manager or the senior, they're responsible for supervision. And then is the review. So review is at the end of the work. That is review of the working papers. Review of the working papers. So when you are performing something during performance, you need supervision. So supervision is an ongoing monitoring during performance. So if I am gathering evidence and I need some advices, or if I'm gathering evidence and I need some guidance, I will be needing supervision. But once I end my work, that is review. Review is at the end of the work, and that is of the working paper. So is everyone sound on the three terms here? Direction is to plan the audit. Supervision is the ongoing monitoring during the stage of performance, because supervision means guidance. Supervision means that you are helping someone if he is in trouble. And review is at the end of the work when the work is being completed, and review is of the working paper file. So that is the literal meaning of the word engagement performance. You're performing an engagement. Now just need a quick answer from your side, and I'm moving towards an exam question. Is everyone clear on the three very important attributes of performing an engagement? What are three attributes of performing an engagement? Can we do engagement without direction? Can we do engagement without supervision? And can we complete the engagement without a review? So do you all understand direction, supervision, review as a very core element of engagement performance? So how many parameters are included in engagement performance? Planning, performance. So can you see this examiner word here? How engagement is planned and performed? How engagement is planned and performed. So planning is the direction, performance is the supervision and review. Now, there might be a problem in the case study with regards to planning, or there might be a problem in the case study with regards to performance. Now, how would you write the answer? How would you bring the quality control into your answer? Will you use the words direction, supervision, and review in your answer? Will you use the word quality in your answer? How would you assure that you are answering a question which has the element of quality? Let's get to that exercise, and let's see how would you incorporate quality in your answer. Okay, now there are two ways to solve a question on quality control, and I will demonstrate both the ways, and you choose whichever you think is the best way to solve it. Because when you see the examiner answers, you will see both the practices being adopted by the examiner. Now it's up to you which one you like and you follow. So there are two ways to solve a question on quality control. Okay, and we're taking illustration from September 18, question number 3B. as an illustration. Okay, I'm just reading some extracts of the case with you. The first paragraph of the case study says, one of your colleague at Jensen and Company, Rodney, has been taken ill at a short notice, and you have been temporarily assigned as an audit manager on what's as an IT consultancy company, which is listed on a second tier investment market. So one of your colleague, Rodney, fell ill, and you have now become a manager as a replacement manager, and you have now been assigned as a temporary manager for this company. And this is a listed company and a second tier on a second tier investment market. The final audit is approaching completion, and you are in the process of reviewing the audit working paper. Now, see, you have been assigned at a very critical stage. Firstly, who you are a temporarily assigned audit manager, and the stage where you are coming in is that the audit is approaching completion, and you are in the process of reviewing the audit working paper. Do you believe they this person can do the right review of the working paper? Will he have knowledge of the business? Will he have proper knowledge of the issues? Will he have proper knowledge of what's happening in the company? Because he has just been assigned. And do you believe he has been assigned at a very critical stage, at a very emergency stage, when the audit is when the audit is approaching completion? So do you think that is an emergency stage where everything has to be wrapped up? And with a new manager, do you think wrapping up with a new manager will be a big issue? So do you think the element of review is at risk? And if the working papers are not properly reviewed, do you believe that the detection risk can be higher? Do you believe if the review of the working paper is not appropriate, then the detection risk can go high? So if I just convert this into an issue, see how can you answer it? One way of answering the question is this. This is the way one, right? This is the way one to answer. I will put a heading, temporary assigned manager. So I will use a heading for that. So my assessor know which am I writing. And under the heading, I will write my answer. I will say, because the temporary manager, because the temporary manager has been assigned at a crucial stage of audit, that is completion, that is the completion stage, the lack of knowledge. See, I'm first writing the issue. The lack of knowledge with this manager about the company will create issues or problems in the review of the working papers, and there is a chance will create issues or problems in the review of the working paper, and this can cause the detection risk to escalate for this engagement. See, have I used the word quality? So far, I'm just discussing the issue. How will you gain marks? Firstly, when you tell examiner issue and why it is an issue. See, have I tell examiner the issue? Just 1 minute. Have I tell examiner the issue? Temporarily assigned manager. This is the issue. And did I tell examiner why it is an issue then? Can you see this why? This whole paragraph here was just about why it is an issue. Have I connected the issue with the process of the audit? Because that was exactly I was telling you yesterday, that when you are identifying a professional issue, you need to connect the professional issue with the stage of the audit, or you need to connect the professional issue with the audit. But have I used the word quality so far? But have I addressed the professional issue that the detection risk will escalate because he has less knowledge of the business? Is that clear to all of you? Now see, how will I bring the quality into my answer? Of the working papers, and this can cause the detection risk to escalate in the engagement. Thus, due to inappropriate review of working paper, due to inappropriate review of the working paper, which is an important element of quality control, thus due to inappropriate review of the working paper, which is an important element of quality control as which is an important element of the quality control standards, the quality would, thus due to inappropriate review of the working paper, which is an important element of the quality control standards, the quality would be compromised in context of work reviewed. See, now you are connecting. Now you're connecting the issue with quality. You are telling your examiner that this is an element of quality and I know it. Have you connected the issue with an element of quality now? Yes or no? Can you agree to that? Are you getting the crucial linkage here? You first wrote an issue and then you connected the issue with an element of quality. So you said inappropriate review is an element of a quality control review. So you're telling review is such an important element of quality, but due to inappropriate review of the working paper, the quality will be compromised. So what extra are you doing in a question on quality? Issue, why it is an issue, and connect the issue with quality. Is that the rule of thumb will remain clear to all of you? Issue plus why it is an issue plus connect the issue an element with an element of quality control is equal to 1 mark. Is that clear to all of you? Is that formula clear to all of you? Issue, temporary assigned manager. Why it is an issue? See my paragraph in the blue, and connect it with the quality control element is my last paragraph, and that all is 1 mark answer. So comment on the quality. That is one way of giving the answer. Just giving you one more example and then telling you the second way of giving the answer, because I will be changing the way to answer the question. Okay, let's take another example. I go back to the case and I start to look at the next paragraph. The next line says, the audit supervisor, who is a part qualified chartered certified accountant, has sent you an email from the following extract. The audit supervisor, who is a part qualified chartered accountant. Do you believe a supervisor should be a part qualified chartered accountant? Supervisor is such an important designation in the audit team, and the supervisor should be a qualified chartered accountant, because if a supervisor is part qualified, how will he guide the others? Do you believe supervisor has the responsibility for supervision? But if the supervisor himself is a part qualified chartered accountant, do you believe he must have done the right supervision or the wrong supervision, or there must be some issues in the supervision. Do you believe with a part qualified chartered certified accountant there will be problems in the new supervision? Right? And the company is also listed, right? So can we have a part qualified accountant as a supervisor? No, that is an issue, right? Now see, what is the part qualified accountant telling you? It is great to have you. He's saying it is great to have you, the temporary manager, as I was beginning to worry that there will be no manager review of our working papers prior to the final clearance meeting next week. See, the clearance meeting is next week, and the temporary manager has come in at a very crucial time. So we've already made the point that he has less knowledge of business, and within that context, how will he review the working paper? The audit assistant and myself has done best to complete the audit. How many people were in the team? The audit assistant and myself has done best to complete our audit, as we only saw Rodney on the first day of the audit about a month ago, and when I think he was feeling unwell. How many people have completed this audit of a listed company? He's saying audit assistant and myself has done the best to complete the audit. Is that sufficient number of people to complete an audit of a listed company? Two? Do you think two people, one is part qualified, one is part qualified, and the assistant obviously will be part qualified. So two is a very less number. And do you believe there is a doubt on their competence? So do you believe that the supervisor is a part qualified accountant means there is a lack of supervision? Lack of supervision because the supervisor is a part qualified accountant? And do you believe there is a risk at how the engagement has been performed here? Because two people have performed the engagement. So do you believe the engagement performance is a very important element of quality? And do you believe engagement performance has been compromised here just because of the two people working? And they saw the manager a month ago, and since then there was no manager. So do you believe they were working without a proper direction of the manager? Lack of direction because there was no manager? So many issues, right? So many issues without supervision. Okay, let's write this point and then show you the second way of writing the answer. And I'm exiting from this topic. Okay, the first one, the audit supervisor who's a part qualified accountant. Next point. Part supervisor, a part qualified accountant. And I write under, if the supervisor is part qualified, that means the the supervision of the audit is doubtful and raise question mark on its quality. Now see, I'm writing in a different way. Now you say supervision is an important element. Supervision is an important element of engagement quality control, and due to incompetence of the supervisor, there is a possibility that the supervision of the assistant has not been performed well, and there might be numerous issues in the audit which could be left unchecked. See, I brought the quality within the center now. So it's not like you bring quality in the end of the answer. You can also bring quality anywhere in the answer because you're commenting on the quality. So it's not necessarily that you comment every time in the last paragraph. See, this time I commented in the middle lines. So am I deviating from my rule, issue, why it is an issue, and connect the issue with a quality control element? But I presented it in a different manner. So can you see the line of quality? I brought the line of quality in my paragraph, within my paragraph. Right? So he's a part qualified accountant. So he must not be having a good knowledge about the accounting standards. He might not be having good knowledge about some technical issues, and he might not be guiding his assistant in a right manner. So there might be lots of issues which must not have been addressed in a right manner because he was a part qualified accountant. Yes, heading is very appropriate. You should give heading of the issue followed by the answer. That is a very good presentation of giving the answer. Is everyone getting sound on how to write comment on the quality? Can you uh, track things out from here? Right, so you need to understand that you need to connect the case study with something like supervision. You need to connect case study with like review. You need to connect case study with like direction, engagement performance, overall quality of the engagement. Is that clear? Now, one last thing. If you don't want to solve the question like this, like which, like this, issue, why it is an issue, connect the issue with an element of quality control. If you don't want to solve a question like this, the one I just shown you, you can also draft the question like this. This is the way to. When you start answering a question in a way to, at the start of the answer, you will write a paragraph. You will say the overall quality of the the overall quality of audit performed in the respective case lacks direction, supervision, and review as evident from numerous situations given in the case study. Following are the quality control issues identified from the case. Number one, temporary assigned audit manager. Now you will not write quality each and every time because at the start of your answer, you have informed the examiner that the overall quality of the audit performed in the respective case lacks direction, because you must have read the case first, right, before you answer it. So once you have read the case, you will be very much sure that in the whole case study, I saw there was a lack of direction, supervision, and review. And this is evident from numerous situations given in the case study. Rather than you repeat this again and again, you thought, okay, let's bring it as an introductory paragraph. And then you say, following are the quality control issues identified from the case study. And the first one is a temporary assigned audit manager. The second one is the part qualified supervisor. But then you will only be telling the issue and why. You will not be repeating the element of quality because you've written the opening paragraph, right? This can save a lot of time. Issue and why. Rather than you repeat that this is an important element of quality, this is an important element of quality, this is an important element of quality, might take a lot of time in exam pressure. But this is one of the very proper exam technique that you say that the overall case lacks direction, supervision, and review as evident from numerous situations, and following are the quality control issues identified from the case study. And all the problems where direction was lacking, all the problems where supervision is lacking, all the problems where review is lacking, you brought them at one place. Is this second way of answering question clear to all of you? Now you can choose the one you want to follow in exam paper, whether you want to follow this one or you want to follow the first one. Is the technique of first and second clear to both or to all the students? Obviously you have to decide which is better, right? But is the technique of both clear? Right, so I've just given you a start of the answer. You need to complete the answer, right? There are so many issues in the case which you need to identify and then write down. But I tried giving you the way of presenting the answer in like headings and paragraphs. So either you connect the issue with a quality control element, or you bring that as an introductory paragraph, and with the introductory paragraph, you start to write the issues under. But when the question says comment on the quality, you have to comment on the quality. Is that clear to all of you? But if the question says evaluate the ethical and professional issues, you're simply identifying the ethical issues and professional issues. But when the question says comment on the quality, and an extra thing which you have to do is to comment on the quality. Yes, and every issue is worth 1 mark. Whether it is an ethical issue, whether it is a professional issue, whether it is a quality control issue, every issue is worth 1 mark. And if the examiner asks you to write actions, then every action is worth 1 mark. So that was the block uh, on ethical, professional, and quality control issue. We started on day 4, but due to some technical glitches in day 4, I couldn't complete this part out, which I just completed at the start of the day 5. Now I will be focusing on the day 5 agenda because this was the time we lost yesterday, and I've given you more than that. I think approximately we lost 20 minutes as a proper time yesterday. So I've given you more than that. I've almost given you 40 minutes on this understanding of the topic from block previous on the day 4. Okay, I'm exiting now from this, and we're starting with the agenda for day 5 now, which is to focus on audit report, which is the core part of the session today. Right, I'll just be giving you an introduction for 5 minutes, and I'll be taking a namaz break. And post namaz break, I'll be starting on with the concept building on audit report, which is very, very important, apart from doing the questions. Okay, now just before I officially start my day 5, day 1, I focused on reading the mind of the examiner. Day 2, I focused on risk of material misstatement. Day 3, I focused on evidence and procedures. And day 4 yesterday, and at the start of the day 5 today, I was focused on ethical, professional, and quality control issues. I hope these last 4 days must have given you some insights towards your preparation for March 2020 exams, and at least must have given you some strategy on which you can work upon to be successful in your March 2020 exams. So I hope the learnings which you must have got over the last 4 days, you can devise a strategy and you can refine it. But again, I have been repeating it over my 4 days. Watch the previous webinars as well. You cannot just rely on one webinar and go to the exam hall. March 2020 webinar, December 19 webinar, September 19 webinar, minimum. And if you want to be a very good student, then the June webinar, June, September, December, March. Watch them. And that will really refine your answer quality. That will really refine the way you need to write an answer in the exam paper. So please devise a proper strategy for your March 2020 exams. Okay, now day 5, I'll be focusing on practice questions. So you can see them on the left-hand side of the screen. Obviously, I'll not be drilling each one of them, but I will at least be guiding you how to attempt each one of them. We have a question from June 19 exams. Question number 2. We have a December 19 exams, the very recent one, the question number 2. we have a December 18 exams, question number 2, September 18 exams, question number 2. I'll just be drilling them uh, in a very summarized manner. So at least you get to know how to read the requirements and what exactly the requirement of a question means. Because in a reporting question, the most disastrous thing is that the student don't understand the requirement and then they write a very insufficient answer for examiner. And then there are some home questions for you, which you can do after you watch my couple of previous webinars. Now, before I give you the understanding of the reporting, I'm taking a break because post-break, I'll start with reporting understanding. And with that reporting understanding, I'll be drilling some very important questions on reporting. You cannot miss the session after the break of 10 minutes because that will really be an eye-opener for all of you, because I will be telling you the requirements of the reporting question, the marking scheme. I will exactly be telling you what the requirement means, and I'll be solving a question on the critical appraisal of the report, which is very, very important for March 2020 exam. So at least I will solve one question considerably, which is the critical appraisal of the report. And rest of the questions, I'll just be guiding you about how you read the requirement and how you apply the marking schemes to them. So please come back live after 10 minutes into the session as we start on with the day 5. So we're on to a break now, and a break for approximately 10 minutes. And I'll be back live at 6:55 p.m. the Pakistan Standard Time. Right, off to a break. Keep your reporting knowledge in front of you for the next 2.5 hours as I start to drill reporting on the 5th and the final day. Please keep dropping your feedback for the session so far, the first 45 minutes, and you can take a break, come fresh back for the remaining session. Hello and assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to the day 5, where the focus is to practice audit report. Prior to the break, I was looking at the quality control issues because that was left on the day 4 due to some technical glitches. Now today, the agenda for the 5th and the final day is now starting with this to practice audit report. Okay, let's start on with the practice for audit report. Right, I've already given you the questions I will be practicing in the session today, and I'll be drilling them over the session today, at least to guide you about the marking scheme, and more important, to guide you what exactly the requirement means, because I've seen so many students who are not very good on reading the requirements of a reporting question, because a comma and can make such a powerful impact in a reporting question, and you slightly overlook it and you will be in a problem, right? So is that clear to all of you? Can you just drop in your feedback quickly with yes, no, something, so I know you are all there and listening? Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, now let's get down with reporting understanding. Now, in terms of the reporting understanding, first of all, it is important to read through all examining team article on reporting. So please ensure that when you sit down to study the area of reporting, you have downloaded all the article on reporting. And I think there are 3 articles on reporting. One obviously is the exam technique article part 5, which is on reporting. If I can just show you that. So that one has been shared with you, right? But if you just want to have an idea of the other articles and just want to show that in clarity, you can see here the technique articles, right? Which I recommended on the first day. You can see this article now, exam technique for advanced audit and assurance part 5 audit report. This is must click and download, and you already have this in your resources. Number 1. Number 2, you go down and there is an article on this one, auditors report to those charged with governance. This one, because there have been questions in past paper about auditor reports to those charged with governance, which is communicating deficiencies to those charged with governance. So it's not just that you get a report to a shareholder in the question number 2. You can also get a report to TCWG in the question number 2, and it has already happened in the past paper. So please ensure that when you write a letter to the TCWG, or you write a report to TCWG, what sort of issues you communicate to them. So please download this article, Auditors Report to Those Charged with Governance. It's a must. And then I recommended you the technique article, which is very, very important for you to download. Right, so please ensure that you're downloading these articles and you are reading these articles, right? Okay, number 1. Number 2, extract knowledge and maintain notes before you sit down to practice. So please first ensure that you read both the articles. And once you have read these 2 articles, no, there are just 2 articles, right? No, 3. When you read these 2 articles, which I've just shown you on screen, and you extract knowledge and maintain notes before you sit to practice. So first read the articles, make your notes, and then sit to practice, right? Practice recent papers on report. That's very, very important. I hope all of you know this, that since September 16 exams, the format of the report was changed. So you cannot attempt questions prior to September 16. Is that been noted clearly by all of you? Practice questions after September 16 or from September 16, because from September 16 the new report was implemented. Don't do questions on reporting prior to September 16, because again they are on the format of the old report, right? So read the two articles, make your notes, and sit to practice. Practice recent papers, right? Now, every student has its own caliber, right? If you think that from the two articles, the knowledge you gain is insufficient, obviously that's not the case, but then you have to read the book. Because if you think articles have insufficient knowledge, then where the knowledge will come from? The knowledge will come from the book, right? So it's a variable factor from a student to student. Some are very good student, they just read articles and they're so good on it. Some, even after reading articles, have question marks. So then you have to go back to a book and read the chapter. Number fourth, sorry, be aware that reporting question is not just asking for an impact on opinion, because that's a very big problem with the student community. They just think that a reporting question is only ask for an opinion. Reporting question is broad, right? It is not just asking for an opinion, though that is a default part of it, but the reporting question is asking for so many things. It can ask for actions, it can ask for matters, it can ask for critical appraisal of the report, and even impact on report. Not just impact on opinion, because impact on opinion is a part of a report. Impact on report is a broad term. A lot of times the students have misunderstanding. Impact on opinion, impact on report. Impact on opinion is very narrow because the examiner is just asking for impact on opinion. Impact on report is a broad term because report covers so many things, not just opinion, right? So you need to be critical of the reporting question, because a lot of time the student thinks that a reporting question is only about giving an opinion. And I'll be demonstrating that over the next 2 hours, that it is not just about giving an opinion. The second last bullet, understand the difference between an impact on opinion, impact on financial statement, and the impact on report. If you have seriously done questions, particularly those who are repeating the AAA paper, if you have seriously done the past papers, in a reporting question, there are three things asked for. Sometimes the examiner says impact on opinion. Sometimes the examiner says impact on report. And sometimes the examiner says impact on the financial statements. And the student thinks they're all the same thing. Can you understand these three terms before I drill them down after a few minutes? Impact on opinion, impact on report, impact on financial statements. They're not the same things, right? They're not the synonyms of one another. And the student community thinks impact on opinion is equal to an impact on report is equal to an impact on the financial statement. No, not at all. So has everyone noted these three terms very carefully on your register? Impact on opinion 1, impact on report 2, impact on financial statements 3. And I will be showing you in my live session today what is the difference between the three terms. And the last one, you should be clear with reporting requirements and reporting rules to be good in a question. Reporting requirements, exam question. Reporting rules, knowledge. If you don't know the reporting rules, you don't know when an emphasis of a meta paragraph comes in, what will you do in the exam paper? If you don't know when CAM comes in, key audit meta, what will you do in the exam paper? You don't know when other meta paragraph comes in. You don't know when other information paragraph comes in. So if you don't have the idea of the rules of the report, what will you do in the exam paper? So you need to revise the rules from the book or from the articles. And I hope you must have done that, because your exams are just under 3 weeks away. So you need to know the reporting rules and you need to know the reporting requirements so that you are very good in a question on reporting. Now, just before I show you something of importance, I'm just putting something on my Word file, which is of importance to all of you. Now we are starting with reporting, and I'll try to give you some very good summary of it, which can be really helpful for you to revise your reporting area over the next 2 hours. So in 2 hours, what can be the most important things I can tell you about reporting, which can at least give you a chance to pass? Okay, let's now start with reporting. Now, when I start with reporting, and I give you some key fundamentals. Number one, you should know two very important things: the reporting rules, which is basically the knowledge of the audit report. And number two, you should know the requirements of a question on audit report. And number three, you should have read examiner articles on report. That is minimum. That is minimum if you're preparing yourself for March and you're starting your preparation from today. Suppose you've not studied anything yet, and there might be many such students. So what will you do from today onwards? First, revise your reporting rules, requirements of a question on audit report, and read examiner articles on report. Now let's do one by one each one of them. Now the very first thing, because again, this is not a class, right? This is just a session which is confined to 3 hours, and in 3 hours you need to put the most important emphasis to students. Okay, if you can just do this. This is the reporting structure. If you can just take a snapshot of your screen. This is the structure of a report for a listed company on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is the structure of a report for a non-listed company. The important paragraphs. Not the title, addressee, signature, which is not something being asked for in the AAA paper, but you should know the listed company report and a non-listed company report. It starts with opinion. After the opinion is the basis of opinion. Then is the paragraph known as MURGC. Then is the paragraph known as CAM, and the situation continues. You should know the order. You should know the order of a report of a listed company and an order of a report for a non-listed company. Now, in my previous webinar, particularly in my June webinar, I have been very critical of the audit report. I've defined the rules. I've defined the rules of MURGC, CAM, other meta paragraph. So if you want to revise the rules when CAM comes in, or when other meta paragraph comes in, when other information paragraph comes in, if you want to revise the rules, then please watch my March webinar and June webinar. So you can be very clear on the rules. Is that clear to all of you? And I hope you've taken a snapshot of this screen in front of you. Has everyone done that? I'm moving off from this particular screen. Okay, now what you need to do. Reporting rules. You can revise the reporting rules from at least my March and June webinars. And my March and June webinars can really help you in terms of the rules. Okay, second thing, requirements. Now you need to understand one thing, that when you go to the exam hall, you know that the question 2 of the AAA paper is a question which is set at the completion and reporting stage. Now, it is not necessarily that the entire 25 marks question is set on reporting, and that has never been the case in past papers, right? That the entire 25 marks gets to reporting, because it is not just a reporting question. Examiner says it is a completion and a reporting stage question, 25 marks. So what the examiner can give you in the 25 marks, examiner can give you something on a question on report, right? The examiner can even give you a question on communicating matters to those charged with governance. Examiner can even give you a question on going concern, because we know whenever a question comes on going concern, that's quite a separate question on going concern, right? And I'll be doing the critical appraisal today, right? Don't be worried about it. Question on report, question on communicating matters to those charged with governance, question on going concern, even a question on evidence in working paper file, because evidence is the stage of completion, right? So examiner even do ask for evidence in working paper file. And I think in the last 5 attempts, twice the examiner has asked for evidence in the working paper file. So you can expect that even in the question number 2. And then the question number 2 can also have a question on ethical, professional, and quality control issues, because it's a completion question, right? So what if the examiner gives you a question that you are a manager responsible for the engagement quality control review, because that also happens at the stage of completion. So if you know what exactly happens at the stage of completion, you can understand what sort of a question can come in question number 2. And all these questions have come. You see September 18 paper, December 18 paper, you see the June 19 paper, and you see the December 19 paper. You will find all 5 of them. So examiner is saying it is not just a reporting question, right? Is that clear to all of you? But with a reporting question, there can be any other things as well in the question number 2. Is that clear to all of you? Right, you're all very reluctant giving the answers. Even typing yes and no is very difficult for all of you. You're a bit lazy as students. You need to pump up yourself, right? You need to be energetic. You're listening to a webinar, right? And your correspondence in the webinar should be very, very quick. Okay, now that's better. The moment I said you're all very lazy, you've all started typing in yes, 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 yes. So that seems like you're all alive, but I need to make you alive, because you were all lazy and reluctant, right, in responding to my questions. Okay, now when you look at the question number 2, which we are focusing on, and currently we're just focusing on the question 2 in terms of report. And if I just tell you what exactly examiner gets you in a report question, right? You need to look at the requirements very carefully. Requirements. Now, when you look at the requirements of a reporting question plus the marking scheme. Now, one thing is very assured, whatever, one mark is the marking scheme in a reporting question. In a reporting question, irrespective of whatever the examiner asks for, irrespective of whatever the examiner asks for in reporting. I'm not saying this is the marking scheme for a question number 2. Be very careful, right? I'm saying this is a 1 mark is the marking scheme in a reporting question, irrespective of whatever the examiner asks in reporting. This is only the marking scheme for reporting in the question number 2, right? Not for evidence, not for ethical professional quality control issues. But this is just a 1 mark marking scheme to be followed whatever the examiner asks you in a reporting question. Now, what exactly the examiner asks you? What exactly the examiner asks you? Let's find some answers to that. Number 1, the most important requirement, which is for the March 2020 exams, is critically appraise the draft audit report. This question is so important for March exams, because it has not come since a very long time, and I'll be putting first half an hour on this question before I take you to the second question and then to the final question. I will be doing 3 types of questions today with you in the session, right? Which I believe is the 3 most important type for March exams. Critically appraise the draft audit report. Now, if you want to be very realistic for your practice sake, and you want to know how things have been in the past paper. If you look at the recent track of the critical appraisals, the critical appraisal came in the June 18 question. At that time, it used to be the question number 5, right? I'm talking about the published questions, right? Then you can see the critical appraisal came in the June 19 exams. The critical appraisal came in the June 19 exams, question number 2, very recently. And since then, it has not, right? So is there a chance? Yes. Because since June 19 exams, it's not been coming in. And now what I've seen is that the examiner is putting the critical appraisal more and less after every 6 months. So 6 months and you're appearing for March exams, there is a high likelihood of that coming in. No, it was basically the March-June exams. It basically came in June 19 exams, right? Not March 19 exams. But when you look at the hybrid paper, March-June 19 exam, so the student starts to believe it came in March, though it came in the June, but it's in the hybrid paper March-June 19 exams. So at least you can do these critical appraisal questions from the recent paper, right? Now you have what you need to learn from critical appraisal. What is the literal meaning of the word critically appraise? Now, I hope I've shown you an article in my day 1, Read the Mind of the AAA marker. I hope you remember that, Read the Mind of the AAA marker. I recommended that on the day 1, Read the Mind of the AAA marker. And on this, the examiner, the marker himself is telling you what does a critical appraisal means. If I just show you the examiner marker, see this. I will be doing this with you now. Can you see your marker is telling you that this is how you should be doing the critical appraisal? Can you see that? Very loud and very clear from your marker who checks your paper. He says this. He says critically appraise means consider each piece of information and assess whether it is correct or not. So if you assess it is correct, you will get 1 mark. If you assess it is incorrect, you will get 1 mark. Is everyone clear on that inverted commas of the marker? Marker is the one who checks your paper. He's saying critically appraise means consider each piece of information and assess whether it is correct, 1 mark, or incorrect, 1 mark. Now see how he tells you to solve it. Then you come on this side and it tells you something here. The examiner tells you, I'm reading this right. The requirement to critically appraise means you need to consider each piece of information and assess whether it is correct or incorrect, describing why and how to amend it as necessary. If you think something is correct, then you simply say, okay, it is correct. That's fine. But if you say something is incorrect, then you need to describe why and how to amend it. Are you getting this point? When you say something is incorrect, so describing why it is incorrect and how to amend as necessary. So what does critical appraisal means? Number 1, critical appraisal means to find whether the information, critically appraise means 2 things. It is correct or it is incorrect. So you need to comment on the correct and you need to comment on the incorrect. But when you say it is incorrect, you have to do 2 things as well. Number 1, why incorrect? And number 2, you need to tell the how to amend it, So you need to tell the amendment necessary. So if you think that the qualified opinion given in the report is incorrect, so you will tell why, and then you will say instead of a qualified opinion, what should come in. So is everyone sound on the definition given by the marker on what critical appraisal means? If it is correct, just simply tell it is correct. But if it is incorrect, you have to do two things. Why incorrect? And amendment necessary. Amendment necessary. What amendment will be necessary to make the correction? So 1 mark and 1 mark. But you need to do a bit long answer for incorrect, but for correct, the answer can be very short. Okay, let's see further. As is clearly stated, you are not required to redraft the extract. You're not redrafting the report, you're only telling the weaknesses in the report, right? Examiner is saying you're not redrafting the report, you're simply telling what is correct in the report and what is incorrect in the report, right? Yes, if it is correct, you will simply say, yes, it is correct, that is it. But if it is incorrect, then you will extend upon and telling why it is incorrect and what should be the correction. Okay, last paragraph. One of the first thing to note is that the requirement refers to extract. It says the extracts of the report. It's not the full report, right? Extract means examiner has just given you a summary of the report, right? As it is not a complete report, comments on missing elements do not answer questions set and would therefore earn no marks. Is that very clear to all of you? Examiner has given you the extracts. You need to identify the issues within extracts. Is that clear? But if the examiner has given you an extract of the report which does not have a and the student starts saying it does not have a title, it does not have an addressee, that would be wrong. You need to find the weaknesses within the extract, not out of the extract. So are you getting that line of the marker? As it is not the complete report, comments on the missing element, do not answer the question set and would therefore earn no marks. So are we just criticizing within the extract given? Yes. Is that true? Are we just criticizing within the extracts given? Or we are criticizing beyond the extract? So do everyone understand what is the literal meaning of the word extract? So is it a complete report or is it just an extracted report? So we are just criticizing within the extracts, right? So I hope this is making you clear on attempting a question now on a critical appraisal. Okay, now let's show you a question on critical appraisal. The one which came recently in the June 19 exams, I'm putting that on your screen. This is the critical appraisal question, which came in the most recent exam. You can see this question number 2A, and the question number 2A has a requirement which says critically appraise the extract of the report, right? Is that clear? Critically appraise. Appraise what? The extract. How many marks we have? 10. So how many appraisals we have to do? A total of 10, because every appraisal is worth 1 mark. So right, every appraise will give you 1 mark. So how many appraisals we have to do? 10 divided by 1 is equal to 10. And examiner is saying you are not required to redraft the extract. So we're just finding the weaknesses or we're just finding the strengths of the report. We're not redrafting the report. Is that requirement clear to all of you? If it comes in March 2020 exam, can you do justice with this requirement? Critically appraise marking scheme. We are appraising the extract. We are not appraising beyond extracts. I've shown you the black and white read the mind of the marker, and I expect you will not do any mistake on a question which asks for a critically appraise the report. Now I want to give you some 50% answer, like 5 marks, to show you a track of how would you go down answering a question. Okay, let's see what is a critical appraisal, if something is right or something is wrong. Okay, let's find the problems. You are a manager responsible for the audit of the Kilmister company, a listed company. So first of all, it's a listed company. Okay, that's good. It's a listed company of which we are the auditor. Specializing in the manufacture and installation of the soundproof partitions for domestic and industrial buildings. You are currently reviewing the draft audit report on the company's financial statement for the year ending 31st of March. Extracts from the report are shown below. So you are reviewing the report. Let's see if you can find some mistakes. Extracts from the report are shown below. Now the report starts with the title. So examiner is saying independent auditor report to the shareholders and the directors of the Kilmister company. Do you think this is a problem? This is a first appraisal. The audit report is addressed just to the shareholder, right? The audit report is not addressed to the directors. So is that the first problem? Cross and cross. Right? So the audit report is just addressed to the shareholder, not to the directors, right? So let's see how would we write the answer. Okay, let's take an illustrative answer. Illustrative answer, June 19. Question number 2, and this is an illustrative answer for critically appraise the draft audit report. Critically appraise the draft audit report. Okay. Now, if you want to put headings, you can put headings. If you want to solve it without headings, you can solve without heading. For example, I put the heading addressee, and I tell under the addressee, the audit report is only addressed to the shareholders, as shareholders are the principal for the auditor who has hired the auditor for their services. So the audit report can't be addressed to the directors, right? Can't be addressed to the directors. And I take 1 mark for this paragraph. Critical appraisal is easy, right? Because you just need to write it in like a sentence. See, it's just 1 sentence or 2 because you use 2 full stops, right? I said the audit report is only addressed to the shareholder, as shareholders are the principal for the auditor who has hired the auditor for their services. So the audit report can't be addressed to the directors. Addressee. So I put the heading addressee. My first weakness, my first appraisal, sorry. Number 2, basis for opinion. And can you see basis of opinion is coming first and the opinion is coming after? Is that wrong? Should you believe in terms of the structure of the report, the opinion should come first and the basis after? Right? So should I be criticizing this? Number 2, structure of the report. The opinion paragraph should come before the basis of opinion paragraph. The opinion paragraph should come before the basis of opinion paragraph, as opinion is the first para of the audit report, and the auditor justify the opinion in the basis para to follow. In the basis para to follow. Thus, the current the current structure of report is inappropriate. 1 mark. Is that clear? Okay, next. Now let's read the basis for opinion. Is there anything wrong in the language of basis of opinion? We conducted our audit of the Kilmister company, the company, in accordance with the international standards on auditing, the ISAs. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor responsibilities for audit of the financial statement section of our report. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor responsibility for the audit of the financial statement section of the report. Do we write that in the basis of opinion? Do we address our responsibilities in the basis of opinion paragraph? Or we just try to justify the opinion? Why have we given that opinion? So do you believe we don't put any focus on our responsibilities? Because for responsibilities, we have a separate paragraph, right? So is that wrong? Next, basis of opinion. Basis of opinion. The basis of opinion paragraph only contains the basis of the opinion, only the basis of the opinion, that is the justification of why the auditor issued such an opinion. It does not include any relevance to, it does not include any relevance to, it does not include any relevance to the auditor responsibilities. Thus, auditor responsibilities, auditor responsibilities, the auditor responsibility line should be removed from this para. So you're also telling the correction, right? Thus the auditor responsibility line should be removed from this para, 1 mark. So why it is a weakness and what should be the correction? The correction is that this should be removed. Even in the very first paragraph, you can write, thus the word director should be removed from the addressee paragraph. Are you getting the way to answer a critical appraisal is just to find the problems or the strengths? So far, we didn't find any strengths, right? But we found the problem in the addressee, we found the problem in the structure of the report, we even find problem in the basis of opinion. And it's just to tell examiner, if there is a problem, then why it is a problem and what should be the correction. Is that difficult? Is critical appraisal indeed difficult? If you know the order of the report, you know the structure of the report, you have gone through a report before you enter the exam hall. It is just to find a problem and tell examiner why it is a problem and what is the correction. Have you understood the length of the answer? Is that a very long answer you have to write? Just 2 sentences and it's wrapping up your one mark. Okay, so is everyone sound on the critical appraisal? Just one last one I'm doing and I'm exiting from this exercise. Okay, we are independent. I'm reading after. We are independent of the company in accordance with the ethical requirements. which are relevant to our audit of the financial statement. Again, you're just trying to tell your responsibilities, which is not the case. You cannot tell your responsibilities in the basis of opinion paragraph. But do you believe there is a problem here? You say, we are independent of the company in accordance with the ethical requirements. But are you telling which ethical requirements? It is very, very important that you need to refer to your frameworks in the audit report, like IFRS, like ISAs. You need to tell ethical requirements in accordance with International Ethics Standard Board for Accountant, right? So is that clear? Structure and sequence does not make any difference, right? The structure of the report is wrong because opinion should come first, basis should come after. You can say sequence of the report is wrong, opinion should come first, basis should come after. That's not a big difference, right? Structure and sequence is portraying the same meaning. Okay, do you believe that you are saying we are independent of the company in accordance with the ethical requirement? But you're not justifying the framework of ethics, even though ethical requirements should not be part of the basis of opinion paragraph. But when you tell your ethical requirements, you need to tell the ethical requirements in accordance with IESBA Code of Conducts. So there is a missing framework, right? Next, frameworks. Framework. The ethical standards has been mentioned without mentioning the relevant ethical, sorry, just 1 minute. The ethical requirements. The ethical requirements has been mentioned without mentioning the relevant ethical standards. In the audit report, the auditor needs to mention the frameworks very clearly. That is, in this case, in this case, the auditor should mention International Ethics Standard Board for Accountants, that is known as IESBA. So you have followed the ethical requirements in accordance with the International Ethics Standard Board for Accountant. You need to mention that in your audit report. So firstly, whatever you mention should be in relevance to a framework, ISA, IFRS, IESBA. So you cannot just say ethical requirement because that's a very journal word, but you will say the ethical requirements as mentioned in the ethical standards known as IESBA. That is one problem with the framework, right? Secondly, there is another problem that the basis of opinion paragraph, does not contain the ethical requirements, as they are covered in the auditor responsibility paragraph. They are covered in the auditor responsibility para later in the audit report. So that is another mistake. The basis of opinion paragraph does not contain the ethical requirements as they're covered in the auditor responsibility paragraph later in the audit report. So that is one problem. And the first problem is that if you are mentioning ethics, you need to mention ethics with your proper framework. So 2 marks. No, not the ACCA Code of Ethics. The proper jargon is not ACCA Code of Ethics. You are publishing report not for ACCA, right? You're publishing code for the shareholders. IESBA, International Ethics Standard Board for Accountant. ACCA Code of Ethics is what you read in the syllabus, right? As an ACCA student. Is that clear? How to draft a critical appraisal answer? Because I'm exiting from critical appraisal, right? Okay, just for the sake of knowledge, because you should be having it, uh, you can do the critical appraisal yourself later, but just look at just one thing here. Right, when you move later, you need to justify whether this paragraph should come in or not, whether this paragraph should come in or not, because there might be mistakes in the going concern paragraph, there might be mistakes in other information paragraph. So you need to be very clear whether other information paragraph has come for the right thing or the wrong thing, whether material uncertainty relating to the going concern paragraph has come for the right thing or the wrong thing. So you have to be very critical of those paragraphs even. So try to find the mistakes in other information paragraph, in the material uncertainty relating to going concern paragraph, even in the opinion paragraph. But so far, just within the basis of opinion and in the title, the mark stretch has reached up to 5. So my purpose was just to guide you the way you need to start the answer. I hope that is clear to all of you. And just to assure that there is a document which is to read the mind of the marker, and the marker is saying that when you critically appraise the report, you need to consider each piece of information and assess whether it is correct or incorrect. No, not at all. See, if one paragraph has multiple mistakes, right? Right, in a basis of opinion paragraph, there are so many mistakes, right? Every mistake will give you separate marks. If you say the basis of opinion paragraph has been structured wrongly, that's 1 mark. If you say the wording of the basis of opinion paragraph is wrong, that is the 2nd mark. If you say something is put in the basis of opinion paragraph, it should not be put in the basis of opinion paragraph, that is the 3rd mark. Every individual mistake is worth 1 mark, and there can be so many within one paragraph. Is that clear to you, Jeevan, because you raised that question? So basis of opinion paragraph, first of all, has been structured wrongly. It should have come after the opinion paragraph. Within the language of the basis of opinion paragraph, you have included the responsibilities which you should not have put in. Then you should not even have put in the ethical part in the basis of opinion paragraph. And even if you, even in that case, you have not mentioned your IESBA, right? So the mistakes can be so many in the report, right? If you just want a summation of the mistakes, because it's very difficult to make the student community happy, right? Whatever they get, they think this is insufficient. Okay, what can be common mistakes? Common mistakes in audit report. Because you just want rote learnings of things, right? The common mistakes in audit report. Number 1, uh, the structure of the report, the structure or the sequence of the report can be wrong. Number 2, the title of the report, the language of the report, as in like something missing from the report, or something not clearly defined in the report, not clearly defined in the report, like missing standards, name of standards not given, or name of standards not properly given, not properly given. Uh, the opinion, the opinion can be right or wrong. You need to be very careful, can be right or wrong. If wrong, justify why and tell the right. Justify why and tell the right opinion. There could be something extra in the report which should not be given. For example, the auditor is mentioning materiality. Auditor is mentioning materiality in the report, which is not given, which should not be given in the report. For example, materiality. You cannot give materiality in the audit report. If that is given, that's wrong. You cannot give the name of the director in the audit report. Name of the director or the designation of the director in the audit report. Name of the director or designation of the director. If that has been given, then that's wrong. You simply say management. You never say Mr. ABC. You cannot use the name of a director. So materiality never comes. Materiality never comes in the audit report in any context. Name of the director, designation of the directors never come in. So these are common issues which you can find in numerous questions when you start to do the critical appraisal, right? But again, this is not an affirmative list. It is just to satisfy the student community that you have at least something where you can control your emotions on. Is that clear? How can you be good on a critical appraisal? Number one, you should know the report. If you are unaware of the report, you cannot find the critical appraisal. If suppose any student does not have an idea of the structure, you don't know what comes first and what comes after, how would you criticize the report? You don't know the language of the opinion, you don't know the language of basis of opinion, you don't know the language of the CAM. So how would you criticize the report? It is very, very important that you download a report and read the language. It is very, very important, right? Please ensure that you read a report of a company before you enter the exam hall so that you know the language of the report, and then you know what is right and what is wrong in the report. Is that clear? Critical appraisal of the report. I'm exiting from this topic because that's the maximum time I can put on this, though it's very important for the March 20 exam, and that was the reason of emphasizing it at the start of my session. So is everyone knowing that you have to read a report? You need to know the order of the report. Then you can do such a good question on critical appraisal. You can do a good question on critical appraisal. And has everyone taken the order from the screen? What comes first and what comes after? So is everyone clear on critical appraisal? Okay, exiting from critical appraisal, right? Now just the second requirement quickly before we need to get to a second break as well. Okay, now this is one, right? Now come down and search for the second thing in a reporting question. What is very, very important? I'm trying to do some questions again, which are different from my previous webinar because you can watch my previous webinar. There is such a big library and this is a free resource. ACCA is providing you to all the students, right? And you need to appreciate this free resource which ACCA Pakistan is providing you because you're not incurring any cost and you're getting benefits. And you need to understand that within the 15 hours, you are being guided at least something which is better than zero. Imagine yourself 3 days, imagine yourself 4 days earlier when this session started. And now imagine yourself when the session is ending. Has this session not given you an opportunity to still make an impact in the March 2020 exams? Uh, Hassan Ahmed, yes, I will be doing that. Don't worry, I'll be doing that, right? So don't be worried about that. So please, as a student community, you need to realize the importance of these webinars, any webinars, right? Because this is a free of cost resource, which is an opportunity for all of you, right? Whatever you're getting, that's better than zero. So try to understand that what impact it's having on your papers, right? So you cannot just say, okay, I have zero preparation and I'll do the webinar and I pass. No, webinar is can be an icing on the cake. If you have taken a regular course, or if you have self-study, or if you have taken a crash course, and with that you take a webinar, then that's wonderful. But yes, I've seen students in the past who have just relied upon the webinar and has passed. So many students in the last 2 years, I consistently get student messages after the result that I just took the webinar and I passed. But you cannot take the risk. Either you have self-study AAA, you've taken a crash course, or you've taken the regular course, and then you took the webinar. Then that could be really wonderful. Or at least try to watch 3 to 4 webinars in, if you want to be really good uh, to get to success part from these webinars, right? Okay, going concern. Such an important area in the question number 2. I've never addressed that in my previous webinars in very detail, but I want to discuss that in a bit detail this time, because again, there is a potential of going concern even for March 2020 exams. So I just not need to focus on a going concern question, so to guide you, because other questions I've done so many times in my previous webinar. Now you must know that examiner has a habit of putting going concern in the question 2 or in a reporting question. But what exactly the examiner expects from students in terms of going concern? Number 1, the examiner expects from you that you should know the going concern indicators, and you can link or identify. You can link or identify them to the case study. Right, we know there is an ISA 570, which gives you a list of indicators which can bring a doubt on the going concern ability of the company, right? So you can identify the indicators from within the case study which can bring doubt. So examiner expects from student that the student knows the going concern indicators, right? Going concern indicators which bring doubt on the going concern status of the company. Going concern status of the company. That's number 1. Number 2, what examiner expects from you? You should know the impact, the implication for the audit report. Implication for the audit report for going concern issues. If there are going concern issues, what implication will it have on the audit report? That's number 2. Then number 3, you should know why management is reluctant, because this question has come so many times in past paper. Why management is reluctant to give a disclosure of a going concern problem. I think this question has come twice or thrice from earlier papers to very latest paper. Why management is reluctant to give a disclosure of the going concern issues in the annual report, in the notes to financial statements. You should know the why. And the last, you should know the procedures or evidence you should develop on going concern. What audit procedures will you perform on going concern, or what evidence will you have for going concern in your working paper file? That wrap ups going concern for AAA. But now let's see a question. Now let's see the marking scheme. Now let's see what your examiner expects, and are you really prepared on a GC? Because I think the last time a question came on going concern, since the format of the paper has changed, was in December 18 exams. And since December 18 exams, there has not been a question on going concerns, right? Last time it was examined in December 18, question number 2. But if you want to do more practice of this question, I'll be doing this one in the session, right? But if you want to do other questions on going concern, then you can do other questions as in like December 15, question number 2A, and you can do December 13, question number 5A and B. All the full question, right? So 3 questions to practice on going concern. I'll be doing this one in the session, December 18, question number 2. and you can then continue on with December 15 question 2A, December 13 question 5, but don't take a risk on going concern when you're appearing for March 2020 exams. Could be important, right? Because it has not come since a very long time now. Okay, let's do a quick analysis and then a break, and post break a question on going concern. And then finally, a last question for this session today, which is yet another very important question for exams. Okay, now first thing, do you all know what is the implication of going concern on the audit report? Implication of going concern on audit report. It's so easy. Number one, situation. Situation number one. If the company is a going concern, however, there are material uncertainties. There are material uncertainties. If the company is a going concern, however, there are material uncertainties facing the company, which are disclosed in the notes to the financial statement, which are not disclosed in the notes to the financial statements. Right? That is the only two situations you need to know for exam paper. If the company is a going concern, however, there are material uncertainties facing the company which are disclosed in the notes, then what will be the implication for the audit report? If it is disclosed, what will happen in the audit report? What will happen in the audit report? Yes, that's a good answer. The auditor will add a paragraph, a para known as, open inverted commas, MURGC. So you will add a paragraph, material uncertainty relating to a going concern para, if it has been disclosed. Can you see this material uncertainty relating to a going concern paragraph here? It will only come when it is disclosed, right? So if it is disclosed, the auditor will add a paragraph, material uncertainty relating to a going concern para. And if it is not disclosed, then what will happen? If it is not disclosed, yes, the auditor will issue a modified opinion, most likely an adverse opinion, as going concern is a fundamental basis of preparing the financial statements. So it's such an important issue, right, that the auditor will issue a modified opinion, most likely an adverse opinion, as GC is a fundamental basis of preparing the financial statement. So most likely will have a pervasive impact. Or in the exam, you can be diplomatic saying that the auditor could issue a qualified opinion or an adverse opinion because it's a subjective matter. So is everyone clear on the implication of going concern on audit report? Right? Exiting from this now. And let's take the second situation, the going concern indicators. Going concern indicators. Each going concern indicator in the exam paper. Okay, going concern indicators, right? From the case study, identify the situations which you think brings doubt on the going concern status of the company. For example, what can be those indicators in the case study? For example, number one, uh, adverse financial position, example, liquidity, falling ratios, adverse ratios, um, like companies loss making, emergence of a highly successful competitor. There is an emergence of a highly successful competitor, which is a big threat. There could be any legal issue which could result into the company losing its license to operate. Any issues with suppliers and customers, key of them, key suppliers, key customers. So you need to find something from within the case study which you think can have an impact on the GC status of the company, something which puts a pessimistic picture of the company. So if you think something puts a pessimistic picture, not an optimistic picture, right? Because you're working on a GC. So GC means pessimistic, right? So going concern indicator. Now each going concern indicator is worth 2 marks. You will first identify the indicator, and then you will explain why the indicator brings doubts on the future. So you will explain the why. So why and identify is worth 2 marks. So you'll get 2 marks per indicator. Is that marking scheme clear? 2 marks per indicator. So you know the implications of GC, you know the indicators. You need to link indicators to the case. You need to find indicators from the case. Right now, I just want to give you an example from a case study before we set on to a break. I've chosen one exam paper from recent past, which is December 18, which is now in front of your screen. This is the most recent question on GC, and this is from the December 18 exams, December 18. And this is the question number 2 of the December 18 exams, right? Now you go through the case and see the big case, and you find the requirements right here. First, it says using analytical review where appropriate, comma, evaluate the methods which may cast doubt on the company's ability to continue as going concern. How many marks will we get for the methods which may cast doubt? For each matter, how many marks? 2. We'll have 2 marks per matter. But can you see the first requirement which says using the analytical procedures where appropriate? Not necessarily, but where appropriate. And you have 10 marks. Now, what will be the marking scheme of a question like such, which says using the analytical review where appropriate, evaluate the matters which may cast doubt on the ability to continue as going concern? Please write the marking scheme very carefully with you. December 18, question number 2, it says using the analytical review where necessary, Explain the methods which may cast doubt on the going concern status. And we have 10 marks. Now, examiner says, when in a GC question, right? When in a GC question, the examiner says analytical review where necessary. The analytical review where necessary has max 3 marks. And this 3 marks is for the calculations of ratios and comparison of the current year with the last year. So these 3 marks is for the calculation of ratios and comparisons. So if you calculate a ratio, for example, you calculate a current ratio, right? You will get 1 mark. For example, you calculate a gearing ratio, you will get 1 mark. But the calculations you show in your answer, it's not just that you have a static calculations, not static calculations, right? I'll just demonstrate calculation of a ratio or a comparison, right? 1 mark per, provided these calculations are shown in your answer for matters which may cast doubt, right? So examiner is saying the analytical review is for the calculations which will worth 3 marks, and the remaining 7 marks is for what? Analytical review where necessary, 3 marks. So do you believe there is a remaining 7 marks? Remaining 7 marks, that is 10 minus 3 is equal to how many? 7. What are you doing for these 7 marks? 7 divided by 2. How many marks are we writing? We are writing at least 4 matters. 4 matters, each worth 2 marks. They are capped, right, Badar? Because it's given in the examiner marking scheme. Examiner says in a question on GC, when I ask for analytical review, the marks are capped to 3. Is that clear? I'm giving you the marking scheme from the December 18 exam paper, right? Which is the most latest. Pooja, I'm telling you that, and you're still asking the same question. I'm saying the analytical review is capped to 3 marks. And you're asking the question, is there any cap for the number of analytical review? Am I not telling you the same thing, that the number of analytical reviews are 3? I just mentioned that. It is written on the screen in front of you. It says the calculation and comparisons of ratios is worth 1 mark, provided these calculations are shown in your answer. Now, just giving you one example from this paper, how to get your marks right. Do one effort for me. In this question, can you just find the current ratio of the company? Current ratio for both years. Can you see the current assets? For 20x7 and 20x8. So I show you how many marks will you get. Current ratio, okay, the current assets is 9.5. The last year, the current assets was 6.9. Can you find that? Current assets, right? And the current liabilities. The current liabilities are 6 and 2.9. Okay, one student has already calculated that. Now, suppose you put a heading in the exam paper, current ratio, as an indicator of going concern. And firstly, you tell the calculation. See how you are getting your marks here. Be very focused. The current ratio has fallen from 2.37 in 20x7 to 1.58 in 20x8. The current ratio has fallen from 2.37 in 20x7 to 1.58 in 20x8. See, have you done the calculation of the ratio? How much marks will you get for this? 1. Now, when you convert this into a meter, when you convert this to a meter casting doubt, you will get another 2 marks. The current ratio has fallen from 2.37 in 20x7 to 1.58 in 20x8. This means that the company is the company has started to face some liquidity problems in terms of their ability to pay obligations on time. Even though the current ratio is above 1, which is good. However, the current ratio has seen an alarming decline from the last year. That is, how much current ratio has declined in percentage term from the last year? 2.37 to 1.58. How much has it gone down in percentage? Can you find it out quickly? How much is the percentage decline from 2.37 to 1.58? 33%? 33% is the right answer, right? Most of you are giving me 30%, right? 33%, sorry. Okay. The current ratio has seen an alarming decline from the last year, that is 33%, and hence bring doubt on the future liquidity or on the future ability to pay. And I'll get 2 marks for the explanation. So 1 mark is for the calculation, but not an isolated calculation, right? See, 1 mark was for the calculation, but I converted the calculation in a meter which cast doubt. Are you getting the structure? The first one line was the calculation worth 1 mark. And then I converted the calculation into a meter which may cast doubt. So 2 marks for a meter which may cast doubt. So my current ratio as a heading is now worth 3 marks. So examiner is saying you have 3 marks for calculation and you have 7 marks for meta. Is that marking scheme clear to all of you? We have 3 marks for calculation, we have 7 marks for meta, but see how I utilize them. I did one calculation for 1 mark. I did one calculation for 1 mark followed by a proper meter, and that meter give me 2, 3. So is everyone clear what exactly this requirement means in the exam paper if it comes to your exam paper like this one? Using the analytical review where appropriate, evaluate the matters which may cast doubt on the ability to continue as going concern. There's so many matters you can find from this question. See this, it says a major new competitor has moved into the Dali's company market. Is that a concern factor? A major new competitor has moved into the Dali company's market. No. This does not complete the 3 marks for analytical review, Muhammad Umair. Analytical review is a calculation. So in the current ratio, the calculation is worth 1 mark and the commentary I did after is worth 2. So I need to do further 2 calculations. Like for example, I find the percentage increase in the revenue or the percentage decrease in revenue, wherever I will do a calculation, I will get 1 mark. But to a maximum of how many calculations I can do? 3. Okay, so see, there are so many points given here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you see that on your screen? Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can read these points and you can identify, is there any point which may bring doubt on the going concern ability of the company? So you need to write an answer for 10 marks by reading the points and by picking the points which may bring doubt on the ability of the company. And there are so many numbers here. You can convert these numbers into analytical review. You can find the gross profit margin of the company. You can find the gross profit margin of the company. You can find the interest cover of the company, provided you link that with your answer, not isolate it. So there are so many ratios you can do because the examiner has given you so many numbers here, right? You can work on the gearing ratio from the balance sheet. So try to utilize 3 numbers and try to write your answer for matters which may bring doubt on the going concern status. I hope everyone is sound on the requirement A. Is that clear to all of you? Okay, one last aspect. Look at the second requirement. I'm not doing it because it relates to a topic of evidence. Explain the evidence in respect of the cash flow forecast, which you would expect to find in the review of the working papers. Have we covered this on the day 3? Evidence you should expect to find in the working papers? Do everyone remembers evidence you should expect to find in the working papers? Can it be a copy of something? Can it be a note of something? Can it be a result of something? Can it be a representation letter? Because again, the students cannot live without a representation letter. Muhammad Ehsan, yes, you can. Right, so explain the evidence. I've already covered this topic. So whenever the examiner says evidence, you need to find either something like copy, or you need to find something like notes, or you need to find something like results. I hope you remember my day 3 lecture. Or even the evidence can be in the form of something original like a representation letter, because something is going concern is a very estimated thing, right? So you can have a representation letter even. So how many marks will we get per evidence? How many evidence to write for the cash flow? A total of 9, right? And are we making evidence on anything, or we are just making evidence on the cash flow forecast? Are we just making evidence on the cash flow forecast? Only on the cash flow forecast, right? For how many marks? 9 marks, right? So see this note number 5. The note number 5 is the cash flow forecast, the biggest note. You have to read this note number 5. And by reading the note number 5, you need to convert the note number 5 into 9 evidences, right? So that's something you will be doing back at home, reading the note 5 and converting the note 5 into 9 evidences you should expect to find in the working paper file, right? And the last thing from this question, it says, can you read the C part of the question? The C part of the question says, explain the possible reasons why the director may wish to exclude these disclosures and the possible implication for the audit report. If the management is not giving a disclosure of a going concern problem, what is the implication for the audit report? Will you give a modified opinion? Is that true? Will you give a modified opinion, either adverse or qualified? So can you understand the breaking of the question? It says, explain the possible reason why the directors may wish to exclude these disclosures and evaluate the possible implication for the report. So is the examiner asking two things in the C part or one thing in the C part? Two. What's number one? Why directors are reluctant to give a note. And second, possible implication for the audit report. Possible implication for the audit report. And you have 6 marks to score. Is that December 18 requirements clear to all of you? Can you sit down with this question back at home and do it? First is the indicators. Second is the evidence. Third is the possible reasons why director may wish to exclude these disclosures and evaluate possible implication. Now for the going concern, you have to do the questions. December 18, December 15, and December 13. So how many papers will you be doing for going concern? At least 3. The December 18, the one I just guided you. December 15 is the replica. December 13 is replica. You will find same requirements. There is no different requirements in none of these questions. They're all same questions. So that means examiner is putting going concern in a very normal radius, right? Okay, I'm taking a break for 10 minutes now, and post break, because I put my focus on a critical appraisal and I put my focus on a going concern, which are two most important topics for March exams. I will now be looking at other questions on going concern, exactly what the question on reporting asks for, and are we prepared to know the difference between impact on report, impact on opinion, and impact on the financial statement. These are three very important terminologies which the students don't understand in a reporting question. So I'll be demonstrating the difference between impact on report, impact on opinion, impact on financial statement, which are regular feature of a question on reporting. The question on reporting also asks for actions. The question on reporting also asks for methods. So right after the break, I will be giving you the other aspects of the reporting question. So once you sit down to study, at least you know the structure, you know the marking scheme, and then you can start to practice the questions on reporting after you watch at least 2 to 3 of my previous webinars, right? Okay, just a quick feedback of the session so far, because I'm taking a break, and post break we'll have the last leg of the session, day 5, and the last day of the webinar even. But uh, please be back live into the last leg of the lecture, the last 45 minutes, because that will be really important, and don't miss that out, because I will be giving you some guidance on the techniques and tips to pass the paper and some important topics which can come into the March 2020 exams in just the last 5 to 10 minutes of the session today. So please don't miss that out live as a live session. Okay, please keep dropping your feedback for the session so far and the overall practice to pass session so far from the day 1 to the day 5. I'm taking a break for approximately 10 minutes before I start to wrap up this topic. So again, a break, right? The session will stretch beyond 9, I think approximately 15 minutes over the 9, because just to compensate of the time we lost yesterday due to some technical glitches, right? So we are on a break for 10 minutes, and approximately I'll be back at 8:35 Pakistan Standard Time, 8:35 p.m. the Pakistan Standard Time. I'll be back, right? And please keep dropping your feedbacks of not just the 5th day of the overall practice to pass session. Has it been really good to give you a track? And has this session really helped you making a strategy for your exams in March 2020? Okay, have a break and come back into the last leg, a very important leg, right? Don't miss that live. Hello and assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to the final part of the day 5, where we are focusing on practicing audit report. Now, this is the last leg of the session today, and being the final day of the webinar, the focus is on audit report. But in the last 5 to 10 minutes, I'll just try to wrap up things, summarize things, and ideally, you will be enabled to set a good strategy for your exams in March 2020. Now, we were looking at exam papers, and so far we have worked upon a critical appraisal, marking schemes, what you should be doing in that. Secondly, we saw a going concern question, typically the marking scheme, what a question on going concern ask you, and then going through a December 18 question. Now, just over the other types of requirements which comes in the paper, and are you prepared for that? If I just keep scrolling over the questions I have shared with you in the session today, the next in order is the question in front of your screen, which is from the December 19 exams, which is the most latest one. Ideally, this is a September 19 question, but the paper is December 19. Question number 2 of the December 19 exams. Now, when you look at this question in front of your screen, which is the question 2 of the December 19 exams, and I've been mentioning that the question 2 is not necessarily a reporting question. It can include evidence, it can include ethical and professional issues, because these are all the activities which happens at the stage of completion. Now, the examiner did the same thing in the December 19 question number 2, that in the first requirement, the examiner tested something we have covered in day 3. See this requirement? This is the day 3. Comment on the methods to be considered and explain the evidence you should expect to find in the working papers. So we've already covered the marking scheme of comment on the methods and the evidence you should expect to find in the working papers in the day 3. So you can write the answer of this by looking at the day 3 of the webinar, where this topic was done and the breakup of this was given. Right, next. When you look at the B part of this question, which is a question on reporting for just 5 marks. So see, out of the 25 marks, only 5 marks have been allocated on reporting. 20 marks have been allocated on evidence. So if you are just expecting that the entire 25 marks question will be on reporting, no. Some chunk of that has to be from another topic, and then some chunk has to be on reporting. Sometimes reporting is the major chunk, sometimes reporting is the minor chunk. Now look at the 5 marks and understand. It says discuss the implication for the audit report on the basis that no further adjustments have been made to the financial statement in relation to the investment property or shopping mall. 5 marks. Examiner is saying that you need to discuss the implication for the audit report on the basis that no further adjustments have been made to the financial statement in relation to the investment property or the shopping mall. So these are two issues in the case study, right? So discuss the implication for the audit report if further adjustments are not made. Try to understand the marking scheme of this. Okay, then we're looking at the December 19 paper, and we're looking at the question 2B of the December 19 paper, which asks for the implication on the audit report if adjustments are not made. If adjustments are not made. Now, what does this mean? How will you get marks? It's very simple. When the examiner says implication for the report, now report has so many things, right? Report have opinion, report has a paragraph. Do you understand reports have so many things? Can you see the screen? There are so many things in report, right? Report have an opinion, report have MURGC, report have CAM, report have other meta paragraph, report has other information paragraph. Is the examiner saying uh, im implication for the opinion, or is the examiner saying implication for the report? It says implication for the report. Now see how you're solving it. When you're writing an answer for implication on the report, first thing you need to tell is the materiality of the issue, materiality of the issue or issues, and conclude, is it material or is it material and pervasive, right? First, 1 mark. Then second, you have to conclude that the accounting treatment followed by management is incorrect. So you will conclude that the accounting treatment followed by the management is incorrect, 1 mark. And for that reason, what will be the impact on the audit opinion if adjustment is not made? What will be the impact on the opinion? 1 mark. Will it be a qualified opinion? Will it be an adverse opinion? What opinion? What will be the impact? Now you have reached till opinion, but the examiner is saying implication on the report. So you will continue after and you will tell what will be the impact on the opinion. You will further tell that opinion will be followed by basis of opinion, and what basis will contain, 1 mark. And finally you will tell the type of report the auditor will issue. That is a modified report due to adverse opinion, a modified report due to a qualified opinion, right? Or an unmodified report, or an unmodified report due to an unqualified opinion. So I hope everyone knows the type of reports, right? There are two types of report, modified reports and unmodified report. Is everyone sound on that? So when the examiner says implication for the report, are you just telling the opinion to the examiner, or you also telling, you're also telling the type of the report? Are you getting the extra step when the examiner says implication for the report? So the implication on the report does not mean just the opinion, but also telling the examiner, will the report be modified too? Is that clear? So can you see the structure of 5 marks, because this requirement was worth 5 marks? 5 marks. So 1 mark for the materiality, 1 mark for conclude, 1 mark for opinion, 1 mark for the basis of opinion, and 1 mark for telling the report. Have you seen the breakdown of the 5 marks for December 19 question 2B? Is that clear to all of you? Quick answers. Again, you've become lazy in the last half an hour. I need your answers, so I proceed to the next question. So do you understand, is the examiner asking impact on opinion, or is the examiner asking for impact on report? So report means opinion plus the type of report. Report means opinion plus the type of report, right? Okay, next question. Move on. I've given you so many questions to practice, right, today. This is the one we did. This is basically the question we did from the June 19 exams, the critical appraisal of the report. June 19 question number 2, but try to understand the second part of this question. See this B requirement. Right, and in the B requirement, see this requirement. This is and this is also an important requirement, right? From the information provided above, recommend matters. Recommend matters which should be included in the Eddy and Company report to those charged with governance and explain the reason for their inclusion. Recommend the matter which you should be including in the report to those charged with governance and explain the reason for that inclusion. Have I shown you the article with the same title? Matters which should be included in the report to those charged with governance and the reason for their inclusion. Did I show you this article? You will regret yourself if you don't read this article before you solve this question. Can you see this article here? Just 1 minute. Can you see the first article now? Audit report to those charged with governance. When you read this article, you will exactly know what matters are included in this report, and you can then be very sure of reading the case study and finding them. So are you understanding the prerequisite of solving the June 19 question 2B? First read the article, audit report to those charged with governance, and then solve. So try to understand this question now. June 19, question number 2B, which is asking for just 1 minute. The question was asking for recommend the matters. Recommend the matters which should be included in the report to those charged with governance and explain the reason for their inclusion. Right, and the marks given were 15 marks here. Okay, now see what you need to do. Recommend the matters which should be included in the report to those charged with governance, right? And reason for their inclusion. 3 things important. Now, before you solve the question, the prerequisite is that you have read the article which has a title auditor's report to those charged with governance. Now, when you read this article will exactly tell you this. This article will exactly tell you the matters, and you can take your notes when you're reading the article. So you read the article and you try to identify which matters do we communicate to TCWG. Okay, this matter, this matter, this matter, this matter, this matter. You try to make your notes right. And then you come and read the case June 19 question 2B. You will be able to identify the matters which you should be communicating to those charged with governance and explain the reason for their inclusion. What does the marking scheme means here? 1 mark per matter. 1 mark per matter to be included with reason. With reason. So you have 15 marks to gain, right? Now, which matters? For example, matters relating to wrong accounting practices. If there is any wrong accounting practice, you will communicate that matter to management. Matters relating to ethical issues, because remember, those charged with governance includes the audit committee, right? So you also need to communicate ethical issues if they are given in the case study, right? Because TCWG means it includes the audit committee even. So matters relating to wrong accounting practices, matters relating to ethical issues, matter relating to any limitation imposed on audit work. You're reading the case, and you find any matters where you think management has limited your scope, management has denied you something. or management stopped you from doing something. So there might be issues, right, which you might be communicating to TCWG, issues like accounting issues, ethical issues, limitations imposed on the work of the auditor, something, right? So you need to identify issues from the case. They have to be case specific issues, but focus focus on why they should be included. If any issue has a number, determine determine the materiality. Determine the materiality also will fetch you 1 mark. Will fetch you 1 mark per materiality. Suppose there is an accounting issue, but the accounting issue has a value, then you can find the materiality even in this question, and that materiality will fetch you 1 mark. We know materiality wherever possible in the 100 marks paper, you need to determine that, right? Is that clear? So you need to find the materialities across the 100 marks paper wherever possible, because that's how the auditor works. Auditor cannot work without materiality. So materiality where possible. Even in this question, do it. 1 mark per materiality. Is that clear with recommending the methods? Will you all be reading the article first before you solve this question? And I think I affirmatively have done this in my previous webinar. I think that was September 19. September 19, if I can recall rightly, I've done this question, June 19, question 2B. I've solved this question. So again, recommended you watch my previous 3 webinars, right? Or perhaps even in December 19, any one of them. Okay, is that clear? The next one. Okay, you move down to another question now. The last one. And this question is from September 18. And the September 18 question asks you a very typical question. And the same question came in December 19 as well. So the chances of such is less, but still, this is a very important requirement to understand. See what is the requirement of this question. It says, this question requirement says, recommend and explain the matters which should be discussed with management. Matters which should be discussed with management in relation to each of the proposed adjustment. Can you see the word each? Each of the proposed adjustment. Then can you see the comma? After the comma, examiner says including an assessment of their individual impact. Now see, you might be mistaken. You say, okay, this is the impact on the report. No, this is the impact on the opinion. No, the examiner is saying including an assessment of their individual impact on the financial statements. So which impact is the examiner asking for? Impact on the report, impact on the opinion? No, he's asking for the impact on the financial statement. And then the examiner says, and on the opinion, if management does not make the proposed adjustments. So a long question, recommend and explain the matters which you should discuss with management in relation to each of the uncorrected misstatement, including. So that means that's a meta, including the assessment of their individual impact and on the audit opinion. Right now, understand this question very, very carefully, because I will be giving you something stretch beyond this question now. September 18, question 2, understand the requirement. It says, comment on the matters which you should discuss with management in relation to each of the proposed adjustment, including their individual impact on financial statement and on the audit opinion. Try to understand. This is the biggest problem the student have, that they don't read and understand the question. They say, okay, I need to work on the opinion, qualified opinion, adverse opinion. You cannot get 20 marks for that. A lot of times the students are in so rush in a reporting question, they think, okay, the reporting question is about telling CAM, MURGC, qualified, adverse, and the answer. No. So what is the examiner asking? Examiner is asking, firstly, matters. Which matters? Which you should discuss with management. Is that clear? In relation to aggregate? No, in relation to each adjustment, each adjustment. So how would you go about? See, each adjustment, whatever that is in the paper, and for each adjustment, what matters will you discuss with management? Number one, the first matter you will discuss with management, matters to discuss. Number one, materiality of the issue. First matter, 1 mark. Number two, the accounting treatment of the proposed adjustment. The accounting treatment, 1 mark. Then the examiner is saying including their individual impact. So examiner is saying you also need to discuss this with the management. So matters to discuss including. Can you all see this word here, including? So is it included in the matters to be discussed? Yes. So further than that, I will also be discussing the individual impact on the financial statement. Individual impact on financial statement, 1 mark. What is the individual impact on the financial statement? Understatement and overstatement. If something has not been adjusted, if the management has not recognized a provision, then you should tell the management that the liability is understated and the expense is understated. The individual impact on the financial statement, understatement and overstatement. Is that clear to all of you? And then on the opinion. So, and finally, the individual impact on the financial statement and the individual impact on opinion. Individual impact on opinion, 1 mark. Will it be qualified? Will it be adverse? Will it be etc.? Can you understand the structure of the matters you should be discussing with the management? Matters you should discuss with management. Materiality, 1. Treatment, 2. Impact on the financial statement, 3. And impact on the opinion, 4. Are you understanding that? So how many marks are we getting? 4 marks per adjustment. 4 marks per adjustment. Now, be very specific. If the exam question asks you, I hope that question is clear, right? I just want to make a table for you, 3 columns. Okay, if the exam question asks you impact on opinion, or if the exam question asks you impact on report, or if the exam question asks you impact on financial statement, be very careful. Impact on opinion. How many types of opinions are there? How many types of opinions are there? Quick answers. 3 types of opinions? No, 4, 2. Interesting. You are all appearing for exams in March. 3, 4, 2. There is not a consistent answer. Wonderful. Unqualified opinion, qualified opinion, adverse opinion, disclaimer of opinion. How many types of opinions are there? If I can have a consistency now. Unqualified, qualified, adverse, disclaimer. How many types of opinions are there? 4. So what happened to you before? All of you? Some said 3, some said 2, some said 4. You're all appearing for exams in March? 2, 3, 4. There was not a consistent answer. Only after I corrected all of you, there was a consistency, 4. So when the examiner says impact on opinion, what are you thinking? will you think which of the four opinions should be given? Which of the four opinions should be given? Is that right? So in the exam hall, you will think, okay, which opinion should I give? Unqualified? Because the matter is immaterial, right? So if you think that the matter is immaterial, okay, because the matter is immaterial, I will give an unqualified opinion. Is that right? If you think that the matter is material, then I will give a qualified opinion. And if you think that the matter is material and pervasive, because you found the percentage, then you will say, okay, I can give an adverse opinion if the financial statements are having a wrong accounting treatment, and if you are unable to obtain evidence and the matter is pervasive, you can also give a disclaimer of opinion. I hope you know the rules, right? Financial statements are misstated and auditor is unable to obtain evidence. So are you very clear with what does the meaning of the word means opinion? Impact on opinion. Then the examiner says impact on report. Now, how many types of reports are there? There is a modified report and there is an unmodified report. So impact on report. Now be realistic, review, start inking, and from here, if I give an unqualified opinion will lead to an unmodified report. Is that right? Unqualified opinion will lead to an unmodified report only if the examiner asks you the impact on report, right? And do you believe qualified opinion leads to a modified report, right? And do you believe an adverse and a disclaimer of opinion also leads to a modified report? So two arrows going to modified, right? Okay, next. Now tell me, do you think impact on report is broader than impact on opinion because report also contains so many other things? What if there is a paragraph? If there is a going concern issue which is disclosed. If there is a going concern issue which is disclosed. Now, will you give an opinion? Will you give an opinion? No. Will you give a paragraph? MURGC. So if there is a GC issue which is disclosed, will you give an opinion? Or will you give a paragraph? Do you understand opinion is a very narrow word? Opinion means four types of opinions. But try to understand the word report. Report includes opinion. Report includes opinion plus the paragraphs. Is that true? But if the word comes opinion, opinion means the four types of opinions. Opinion means the four types. So is report broader than the word opinion here? Can I get the answer to my question? So report includes opinion plus the paragraph. So it could be anything in the exam paper. But if the examiner says opinion, will you think about CAM? If the examiner says opinion, will you think about emphasis of a meta paragraph? If the examiner says opinion, will you think about MURGC? Is that clear to all of you? And if the examiner says report, now there can be both. There can be opinion, there can be paragraphs. So when you see the requirement impact on report, please be very careful. Report is not just opinions, right? Report also includes paragraph? Is everyone sound and clear on this requirement and breakup? So report is not just a modified report and an unmodified report just because of the opinions. It also includes the paragraph. So please remember that report is equal to paras plus opinions. So that's a broad word. And last, impact on the financial statement. Now everyone knows what impact on the financial statement means. Just to tell examiner the understatement and overstatement of an account balance. If the provision is not recognized and the examiner says impact on the financial statement, so you will say the liability and expenses understated. Have you ever been so critical of a reporting question? Impact. The students see the word impact in a reporting question and they simply say, okay, qualified opinion, adverse opinion. Now, will you read the question carefully at the home? Is it impact on opinion? One. Is it impact on report? Two. Is it impact on the financial statement? Three. Is everyone sound on that? Or will you just see the word impact and by default you will assume this is opinion? Right? So I tried going through all the questions which was in the session for the sake of the guidance. I hope these questions have given you not just how to solve them, these questions have given you how to read them. Is that clear? I need quick answers from all of you. Have you got the marking scheme for the reporting question? Is everyone sound on the marking scheme? Everything is worth one. Have you got the reading of the questions? Now, if you do December 18 question, if you do September 18 question, if you do December 19 question, if you do June 19 question, do you understand what these questions literally means? Can you solve it in a proper manner? So has this exercise of these questions, breakups, have given you some insights about how you lose marks? Now can you imagine why you failed the AAA paper? Examiner is not your enemy, right? The marker is not your enemy. Why would he fail you? He has no uh, conflict with you. He only fails you because you fail to perform. So you need to find your weaknesses, you need to find your problems. If you are not finding your weaknesses and problems, then the situation is where it was. I hope these sessions have given you the identification of the problems. These sessions have helped you with finding the problems, finding the issues within the stretch of 15 hours, within the limitation that this is a free of cost webinar. You're not incurring any cost for it. Still, you're getting a benefit. If you do the cost benefit analysis, there is only benefits, there is no cost. So will you set the right strategy for exams now? Will you set the right perspective for exams now? Now, just a few of the important things I need to discuss with you before I wrap up the session. Okay, now one thing important, because a lot of you keeps asking what will come in the exam, what will not come in the exam, what should I focus on, what should I not focus on. I hope all of you know my Facebook page, which is a dedicated Facebook page titled AAA by Kashif Kamran. I hope you have already liked the page, you have already followed the page, because that is very, very important. because I normally keep posting very important stuff on this page after the webinar ends. And I've already posted my techniques, my tips for March 2020 exam on this webinar. So please follow this page. It's very simple. If I just put it here for you, it's as simple as that. You go to the Facebook and you follow this, right? www.facebook.com/AAA by KK, and you reach this page, right? So please ensure that you follow this, because that will keep you updated about the tips and techniques you need to follow for exams in March 2020, right? If you have not yet followed this page. Lastly, if you see the articles published by ACCA, there is one article which I have consistently covered since September 19 webinar, which is basically data analytics. Right, this article, the very first one, data analytics and the auditor, right? This is must to read, because since it has been published, it has not yet come in September 19, it has not yet come in December 19. So again, there is a chance it might come in March 20. So you cannot just skip this article for your exams in March 20. If you want to have an understanding of this article, I've already covered this in my September 19 webinar, so you can watch the September 19 webinar for an understanding of this article. But it is a very easy to read article. You can just download it and go through it. And you cannot just take a risk on this article when you enter for March 2020 exam. So that is one very important thing to be reminded to all students, right? Is that clear to all of you? So please download this article and read this article. So that's the second important thing, right? Follow the Facebook page, read this article, so that your concerns, the last moment concerns, are uh, resolved. Your last moment concerns are resolved and mitigated, right? The final thing, right? Now, over the last 5 days, I've been exercising on different aspects to make you pass, right? On the day one was a very important day, because that was reading the mind of examiner. I hope the reading the mind of the examiner was a really important aspect, and you have downloaded and maintain a file. I recommended on the first day to maintain a file. I hope all of you have maintained the file, right? And you have been going on the daily basis. Day two was the risk of material misstatement. Day three was evidence. Day four was ethical and professional issue. Day five today is reporting, right? So for your last moments concerns, queries, please keep be on my Facebook page. I keep updating my Facebook page on a very regular basis for any updates, for any techniques. I might even upload a video on data analytics, so you cannot miss all such stuff, right? So please ensure that you follow my Facebook page on a very regular basis. The tips for assignments and everything, Divanash, everything is on my page. Follow it, right? Which assignments will come and which assignments will not come, what should we do, what should we not do, etc. And please ensure, if you have questions, technical questions which were not answered during the webinar, keep posting them on the WhatsApp group, which has been made to facilitate you. The students also facilitate you in the WhatsApp group. This is such a wonderful platform for all of you, that you can interact with students. Even I can drop a message on that, so you know exactly what's happening, right? So please ensure that you are on the WhatsApp group and you are helping each other into that aspect, right? Okay. One final thing, and I'm just concluding. Please ensure that the only way you will pass the triple exam is practice. That is the key. Practice. And read the requirement carefully. Practice and read the requirement carefully. Marking scheme. The more time you spend on practice, the way it has been taught to you with marking scheme and how to read, I hope you understand the planning of the requirement. Is everyone now sound that it is so very important to plan the requirement? I think that is one very essential message which has gone over the last 5 days. Read the requirement carefully. Till the time you don't read the requirement carefully, you break the requirement carefully, you allocate marks carefully, you will not understand what to do, right? So I wish you all success in your exams in March 2020. I hope you will apply the techniques you learned from these webinars and the previous webinars in a very effective way, because you can be successful. You need to be optimistic, you need to be motivated. Nothing can stop you from success provided you are on the right track. So my previous webinar and this webinar can really be beneficial for you provided you learn the techniques and you apply them effectively. So I wish you all success. I wish you all success in the March 2020 exams, not just for the AAA paper, for any other paper you are giving in March 2020, right? Okay, please just drop your final moments feedback on the overall progress of this AAA Practice to Pass webinar. I just want a conclusive feedback from all of you within a minute about the overall AAA Practice to Pass webinar. And once the webinar ends today, you will find a feedback screen in front of you. Please kindly give your constructive feedbacks on that screen so that it gets to the tutor and the ACCA Pakistan. Okay, with that, I'm just into the end process now. I tried doing the maximum I can within the constraints and limitations, and it was very good to interact with all of you. It was nice to have you on board live webinars. I hope you enjoyed these live webinars more than you watched the recordings of these webinars, because live has its own flavor and own essence, right? Okay, have a nice day. Practice effectively for exams. Keep in touch over the WhatsApp group and over my Facebook page. I hope you've noted the address of the Facebook page. Um, that is it. I'm Kashif Kamran. I'm signing off from this AAA Practice to Pass webinar for March 2020 exams, which were being organized by ACCA Pakistan. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.